deserts, the driest places on Earth, covering more than a fifth of all the world's landmass, as dangerous to life as the highest peak or the coldest glacier. But in these harsh and barren wastelands, nature endures. The people have lived in the desert since the beginning of time. Resilient and resourceful, they have developed unique cultures and deep spiritual bonds with these arid lands. But the modern world of commerce and industry is encroaching on the desert, claiming its resources, changing the delicate balance of life. Now, more than ever, desert people must adapt to survive. This series tells their story of struggle and endeavor, of humanity's continuing relationship with the most challenging places on Earth. This is the story of life in the Australian Outback, a place so forbidding it looks to be incompatible with human life. But for tens of thousands of years, people have called this place home, living a difficult, sometimes brutal existence.
It's not a very pleasant task for them, but it's got to be done.
In their isolation, they've developed a thirst for adventure and a knowledge that pulling together is key to survival. The Outback is a place of dramatic transformation, of untapped wealth and secret histories. Whether braving the elements or hunting for treasure,
it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
It takes a certain kind of person to live here. Day or night, the arid lands of the Australian Outback are full of staggering stories of extreme existence. Almost all of Australia's population lives along its coastal fringes. Inland is a vast arid space where everyone and everything seems to work in a different way. It's first light. Anna Creek's cattle ringers are bracing themselves for a long, hot day in the desert. Their task is to locate and corral a 1,000-strong herd of cows. The process, known as mustering, will involve gathering a herd together and driving them non-stop over 30 kilometers in the blistering heat of the Outback. In the past, this work was done on horseback. But when your farm is this massive, it's best to use horsepower of a different kind and go at it from all angles. A 100 years ago, the practicalities of managing a farm this size was unthinkable. Stretching out over 2 million hectares of the South Australian Outback, Anna Creek Station is the largest cattle station in the whole world. Australian cowboys are known as ringers. The head stockman takes to the skies, a shepherd with a bird's-eye view of his livestock. His airborne directions keep his young jackaroos and gillaroos on the right trail. They are his petrol-driven sheepdogs, who find the cattle and drive the herd together. In summer, the temperature can reach 50 degrees. It's like working in an oven. But for cowboy biker Nathan Keogh, sweating it out is just part of the job.
An old fellow once said to me, they're no different to people. If someone just woke you up one morning and said, you got to walk 30k today, and you had someone behind you poking you with a stick trying to make you jog that 30k, well, you're probably only going to get about 10k, and then you're going to sit down and want to have a rest. So that's where you've got to sort of think like a cow, which is not that hard, really. You know, they just treat them how you sort of think that you'd like to be treated if you were in their situation.
Despite being one of the driest places on Earth, plenty of grasses and shrubs have evolved to grow in the desert soil. By constantly roaming around the enormous paddocks, the cattle find enough food to thrive and keep the farm in profit.
They're the money-maker machines that sort of keep me employed pretty much, so you've got to look after it.
The Santa Gertrudis breed is known around the world for withstanding hot, dry environments. They're also unfussy eaters and can graze on almost any vegetation they find. The young jackaroos and gillaroos come from all over the country to work on the station, but it's a grueling existence. For newbie Sophie Evans, it's a tough learning curve.
No, it's, I don't know, probably 30-something degrees. And it's hot. Especially on the bike because it's really, really hot. Like, the engine gets hot quickly, so... Yeah, sitting on a hot bike in the hot sun doesn't help very well.
The reason I came here was because of isolation. Freedom, basically. Just being out here, doing the work is freedom, basically, because you've just got so much open spaces. Like, it's unbelievable how big it is.
Apart from Antarctica, Australia is the driest continent on the planet, with desert claiming almost 1/5 of the mainland. Although the cattle can find food by grazing vast areas, to survive in the outback they also need plenty of water. And in this sun-baked land, the skies don't supply enough. But in fact, there's plenty of water here if you know where to look. Beneath the Earth, there's a geological phenomenon, an immense subterranean body of water. The Great Artesian Basin. Extending beneath almost a quarter of the country, it holds a staggering 65 million megalitres. That's enough water to submerge all the land on Earth. It's Australia's greatest natural reservoir. Fresh water often rises to the surface in a series of springs, a life-giving force in an otherwise barren landscape. It was these ribbons of water that enabled the early settlers to overcome the challenges of living in the desert. By tapping into the basin, they became masters of their own destinies and sowed the seeds of an agrarian revolution in the outback. With their cattle safely penned, the ringers turn their minds to tomorrow, when they will be branding and preparing the herd for market. That is, if the weather holds. Just 20 kilometres from Anna Creek Farm lies William Creek, one of the smallest settlements in Australia. Though it's in the middle of nowhere, for the ringers and farmers of the outback stations, this is the local village. With a permanent population of just 3, it also boasts one of the most remote pubs in the world, the William Creek Hotel. History runs deep at this watering hole. Since it was established by the pioneering outback explorers in the 1880s, it's been a gateway to the desert. With plenty of regular customers. One of those soaking up the atmosphere is old-timer Bobby Evans, who's been a ringer all his life. Tomorrow he'll be at Anna Creek, helping Gillaroo Sophie wrangle the bulls.
Yeah, Sophie is my niece, and I am proud of her carrying on the traditions.
To Bobby and his friends, this place is much more than a pub.
William Creek ASL is the heart of the community. It has been all my lifetime.
With walls festooned with decades of memorabilia, the pub is a museum of times gone by, chronicles of mateships and a few rowdy nights. In the Outback, they know there's nothing better than getting together with friends. It's key to staying alive and still smiling. A fact no one knows better than landlord Bruce.
The pub's about as Aussie as you can get. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're 200 kilometres from the nearest outback town. Our community are our mates.
Every fortnight, the William Creek pub receives its regular supply of food and grog. Though demand is so great, the bar can easily be drunk dry. In the Outback, there's no such thing as a guaranteed next-day delivery, so Bruce is always thinking ahead.
You've always got to have a contingency plan, so you make sure you've got plenty of food and booze.
Tonight especially, Bruce is bracing himself. There's a rumour of freak weather on the way. A rainstorm is brewing in the Outback. Despite the forecast, at Anna Creek Stock Camp, the ringers are preparing for a brutal day of cattle wrangling. With rain on the horizon, they'll have to work faster than ever to get the job done. But to rush things is risky. One slip of the finger can end in disaster, as Nathan knows.